The used car market is insane. Did you know the average used car today costs $29,000? Let's do some quick math. If you're working full-time, earning minimum wage, that's literally 2 years of labor for a car that might be one pothole away from falling to pieces. Crazy, right? Used cars today are somehow fetching prices that defy their age and mileage. But with inflation still high, interest rates even higher, and consumers running out of savings while also racking up record debt, these prices are unsustainable. And we are on the cusp of what could be an historic used car market crash. In today's deconstruction, we're going to look at 4 reasons why used car prices are headed for a market crash. The impact of increased new car production, high interest rates, record auto loan delinquency rates, inflation, and so much more are driving the used car market into uncharted territory. Before diving in, let's briefly summarize how the used car market got here. Well, believe it or not, there was a time where you wouldn't have to sell a kidney to drive a beat-up Corolla. Then, 2020 happened, and the global supply chain crumbled. Once the dust settled, the demand for goods came roaring back in a way that no one had anticipated. A severe chip shortage meant that new cars weren't being produced, and so the only inventory on the lots were used cars. This led to the massive inventory and pricing issues that we're still feeling today. You know the market is too hot when your 2008 Honda Civic's value appreciates faster than the stock market. Okay, that's a very brief summary of how we got here, and a future video will dive deeper into some of the supply chain challenges still plaguing the auto industry, so be sure you're subscribed for when it comes out. Now, let's roll into the factors that will likely lead to the great used car market crash. With the normalization of production lines finally taking shape, automakers are increasingly churning out new vehicles. And when supply meets or exceeds demand, prices generally stabilize or fall. And there's currently an oversupply of new cars. Manufacturers are eventually going to have to lower their prices to move the inventory. This is going to exert downward pressure on the used car market as well. Additionally, with an uptick in the manufacturing of new cars, the number of trade-ins for used vehicles increases, thus also expanding the supply of used cars in the market. And the higher supply and lower demand due to inflated prices will spell disaster for the used car market. Improved availability of new cars is expected to bring down used vehicles prices later this year. And as the used car market balloon deflates, it's going to leave behind a field of depreciating assets and a sizable number of people with loans they can't afford to pay. Worse, the value of these loans will be significantly more than the vehicle they're tied to. Interest rates have been on a tear as the Federal Reserve tries to tame inflation. High interest rates generally slow down consumer spending, particularly for large purchases such as cars. And as prices fall due to less demand, potential buyers may find it less attractive to buy a used vehicle if they need to finance it at a higher interest rate, especially since used cars tend to come with a much higher interest rate as compared to a new car. And with the prices of new and used cars not that far apart in some cases, consumers will opt for the new car that will come with the warranty and worry-free maintenance from some brands. EVs just aren't for Silicon Valley anymore, and they're currently in the midst of a price war, with sales reaching new heights every single year. As EVs get more affordable, what's going to happen to their 2008 gas guzzler on dealer lots? The demand is going to drop, which will place downward pressure on the prices of used gas vehicles. There's also an unspoken environmental cost with the current high prices of used cars. Nearly a third of vehicle loans now take 6 years to pay off. So with people now taking out 6 to 7 year loans on cars that are already a decade old, there are now going to be more older cars on the road for much longer. And we know many older models are gas guzzlers with emissions that would make a modern electric vehicle weak. The everyday consumer is hurting. The New York Fed recently reported that credit card and auto loan delinquency rates are now higher than before the pandemic. And the reality that dealerships like to pretend doesn't exist is that higher and higher prices for used cars have led to many people being priced out of the market completely. And as fewer people are able to own a car, there will eventually be fewer trade-ins landing on dealer lots, and a vicious cycle of high prices and low supply will persist. This means used car dealers may be eating their cake now, but their future revenue is at risk, as the entire car market risks shrinking due to a lack of people being able to afford the ever-exorbitant prices. And while it may not be possible for everyone to choose a car-free life, those that can, willingly or not, may never return to owning a car, as the costs of ownership, such as maintenance, gas, and insurance, will be one less thing for them to worry about on their already stretched budgets. Before moving on, I will also make a bonus point that global events such as geopolitical tensions, trade wars, or economic downturns can also destabilize the used car market in ways that no one sees coming. Remember the stock market crash of 1929? Nobody saw that coming, and yet it led to the Great Depression. Multiple indicators suggest that used car prices are on the edge. As new car production normalizes, interest rates stay elevated, and consumers remain under pressure from inflation, the market conditions will tip the balance towards rapidly falling prices for cars. For many, owning a car is not a luxury but a necessity. Long commutes, lack of public transportation, and the need for family mobility make it so. Yet, the current price trajectory of used cars has transformed this essential asset into a financial burden. Imagine being a student or a young professional, perhaps with student loans. You don't need nor can you afford a shiny new Tesla with self-driving capabilities. You just need a car that takes you from point A to point B. However, even this modest ambition now demands a fortune, sometimes rivaling the prices these cars had when they were new. As used car prices soar, they push a basic necessity out of reach for many, reinforcing a cycle of economic inequality. Just like housing in 2008 and dot-com companies in the early 2000s, bubbles are fascinating, intoxicating, and ultimately devastating. The used car market, with its paradoxically rising prices for inherently depreciating assets, bears all the classic signs of a bubble. And as history teaches us, bubbles eventually burst. And while it may be good news for many to finally see prices come back down to earth, there will be millions of families and households stranded with loans that far outvalue the car itself. Thanks for watching. Catch you in the next episode. And if you haven't already, subscribe to Deconstructed for video essays on money, wealth, and power.